What up, guys? So I'm going to show you something that I see happens with a lot of newer white belts as they get into jiu-jitsu that really screws them up in the bottom of mount. Basically showing you what that is. It starts off with the person gets in here, they're in mount, just like everything else. The person gets to a mount, the person allows their arms to get separated, and instead of fighting this position now, they go, oh man. And then it's like after everything's already sunk in, then they decide that they want to escape. So what I'm going to show you guys today is a really simple idea, super simple. Like, it's so simple that most of you guys watching this won't pay any attention to it because it's not cool and like a upside down flippy back take that ends in a submission or something like that. It's super basic. But if you do what I'm about to show you and you're a newer white belt and you're getting submitted from mount left and right, this could definitely make your jiu-jitsu better in that sense of being able to survive and escape over the next few months if you put it into practice. So with that said, let's jump into the idea. For a mount. By the way, one of you guys in the videos recently, I guess one of my students was telling me, was like, something's off with Brandon's eyes. Well, so Brandon is visually impaired, right? And so you've got, what is it called?
Vitiligo.
Vitiligo. So that's what that is. So again, if you were wondering what was going on with Brandon's eyes, that's what it said. So there you go. For one of you guys who had to like fucking asshat comment. What I'll see a lot of times is newer people will allow their arms to get separated, right? This is a problem because again, one of the things that if you think about the person on top, what is his job? One of the main goals for a person to mount is trying to get the arms separated and if possible, isolating at least one arm, right? For arm triangles, for arm locks, everything else. And so if your arms separate, you literally give this person exactly what they want. Right? So what we've got to do is we've got to bring our arms in tight and keep them there and set up our frames. A lot of you guys will probably, I get this message all the time, they'll say, man, Chewy, I have trouble holding the mount. One of the reasons why people have trouble holding the mount is because they don't do anything to isolate these arms. I've talked about this in other videos, right? They allow the person to have a frame and they're like, I can't hold mount. Well, of course you can't hold mount. I've got a frame to offset you and shoot you right out of this position, right? The mount is incredibly tough to hold against anyone worth their salt in jiu-jitsu if the person's got a frame. So most really effective mount strategies involve securing an arm as you're going to mount. So understand if you're going with someone and let's say that they do some sort of mount that doesn't involve you, or involve them getting an underhook, the step over is just an example. We want to fight like heck to keep our arms together and make our frames across the hip, right? One of the things that I'll do with my students a lot of times when we're going into Mount Escape blocks of training is I will have the person on top try to submit them while the person on the bottom just focus on keeping their arms tight together. Now again, this isn't necessarily going to mimic a true roll situation, a true match, but what it will do is it will allow you to understand that if your arms come in really tight and you focus on keeping that tight, it's really friggin' hard to submit you. Like I'll do that sort of situation in the room and I'll say at the end of the roll, I'll say who got submitted and very few hands go up. And again, that's because it's hard to submit you when you're really focused on keeping the arms together. What happens is during a regular roll, we have so many different things going on that we forget, like what's the most important? Like there's a hierarchy of important things. And when you're on the bottom of mount, one of those important things is keeping those damn hands together, okay? So that's one. If they're going into some sort of mount, and they're not doing anything to isolate your arms, you get your frame set up and you get them in there tight. Now, the second one would involve what happens if he's going to a mount that does involve him isolating the arm, whether he's got his head underneath or even just the arm. Like sometimes people are like this, they've got the arm underneath, right? As he's doing this, right, I want to be ready for what's next. This should always be a strategy for you in jiu-jitsu, whether you're talking about your defense and your escapes or even your submissions. You're always trying to think, like, what am I going to go towards next? And in this situation, like if I was getting mounted, like right now I know I'm about to get mounted. I can feel it. Like he has my arm isolated. He's got a shin across my waist. I'm not stopping him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this hand ready by putting it across his hip. Raise up just a bit, Brandon. I'm going to go ahead and get this hand right across the hip here now. Because what I think I'm going to do is as soon as he comes to mount, I'm going to try to off balance him, right? So that I can get this hand free. So instead of just laying here and dying and going, oh man, this sucks, and then deciding once the person's damn near in an arm triangle that I want to escape, and then saying, hey coach, I can't escape mount. We got to go back a little bit. We got to start here. So he's in this position, he's coming across. As he's doing this, I'm getting my hand ready so that as soon as he goes to mount, before he's even in a strong position, I'm bridging up towards the arm that's isolating my arm, right? So again, he's here. I need to get this hand free, so I'm going to bridge up and I'm going to use my frame here to push. And again, when we push with the frame, we're pushing with the elbow, not the hand. So I'm bridging up. I just got a little bit of space. Now, I'm not gonna be able to get all the way up out of this, but I can bring my hand back in and then come back to this position. And again, anytime you get into a position where your arm is trapped, if you need to get it back, it's gonna be really tough to just push your way out of this. So what you do is you bridge, push, shift. Again, when we push, guys, we're pushing with like the elbow here. You know, this part of the arm. I don't want to try to push with my arm. If I push with my hand, this is actually a really weak place to push with your hands. What we're actually doing is we're putting the weight here in this push, and it's coming from your arms and your hips. So lay on this real quick for me. So when we're here, as I'm bridging up, and I'm pushing slightly to off balance him, but again, notice it's with the elbow. My hands are here to make sure that, again, he doesn't raise up too high. So you're losing position, we go for it, back down, and then we go for our escape from there. Notice, I'm not going into any escapes right now. That's the big mistake that I notice from people, right? Because a lot of people know how to get, they know escapes from the bottom of mount, right? They know how to do escapes from bottom of mount. They know that there are those things that they can do. But a lot of times what I notice from newer white belts, this is like your first like 6 months-ish, maybe longer, if you're a little bit less disciplined or not getting taught to do this, is they allow their arms to get isolated very easily. And they don't really think about it. And again, I've talked about this before, side control positions. They'll lay down and just die, right? They'll just sit there and lay there. But anyway, the idea is to make sure that you do something to get your hands together. And my suggestion to you, if you want to get good at being able to survive the bottom of mount, is to get down there and allow people to like put you in a mount position and to see how long you can hold your hands together, how long you can defend the submissions without being submitted. If you get good at doing that, what that will do is that will give you this level of comfort, and it's almost like a safety net where you're not worried about it anymore. You're like, put me in mount if you want to, you can't submit me. This is why you can like watch guys like Gary Tonin is a great example of a guy who will literally put himself into really bad positions, like let people grab his head just so he can practice these counters to what he's doing. He's so comfortable there. You can watch it. So it's a great guy to watch if you want to see that in action in competitions. But again, that's the idea. I'm starting to ramble now. Hope this helps you. Talk to you guys next time.